Welcome to the It's in Queens podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and this is the only podcast that focuses on my borough of Queens. This podcast comes to you each week thanks to the Queens Tourism Council and the Queens Economic Development Corporation. Together, they present our borough as a destination because it has something for everyone, whether you live here, you are visiting, or you work here. So this week, it's Thanksgiving, a time for gratitude, family, and celebrating traditions. And in Queens, there are just so many places where you can embrace the holiday spirit, from local eateries that serve classic Thanksgiving fare to cultural centers hosting unique events that blend the holiday with the diverse traditions of our borough. This is one of the things that makes our borough so special. We are a borough of many cultures, and while we may celebrate Thanksgiving in different ways, from heritage-inspired dishes to customs that are passed down through generations, the universal themes of gratitude and togetherness bring us all together. This diversity is mirrored in our neighborhoods. Queens truly is one of the most ethnically diverse urban areas in the world, and every corner of our borough reflects the global tapestry of our residents. And that brings me to this week's topic, the incredible work being done by the Queens Public Library's New Americans program. Recently, this program received national recognition, and I could not be prouder to highlight it today. The program has been spearheaded by Fred Gitner, a longtime librarian at the Queens Public Library, who just won the prestigious I Love My Librarian Award from the American Library Association. And Fred has dedicated his career to supporting Queens immigrant communities, and his efforts have had a profound impact on countless lives. So this week, I'm thrilled to welcome Fred Gitner as my guest. We'll hear directly from him about his work, his passion for serving new Americans, and what this recognition means to him and his team. Fred Gitner, welcome to the It's in Queens podcast.
Thank you, Jeff. Very happy to be here.
I'd love to start off by getting to know you, where you grew up, and to find out a little more about your career and what brought you to the Queens Public Library system.
Sure. So actually, I was born in New York City, but I grew up in northern Westchester County, Yorktown Heights. And I went to Hamilton College in upstate New York and got a degree in modern languages, French and German minor. Then I got my master's in library science from Rutgers University. And actually, I was looking at two career paths. So I also got my master's in French from Middlebury College. If I decided teaching libraries, which way to go, but I ended up in, obviously, libraries. And
oh no, keep going.
Sure. So I just after I finished my Middlebury degree, I saw an ad, the days when you still saw ads in print, for a library director at the French Institute Alliance Française in Manhattan. And so I applied there, and I was there for over 15 years. And then came to Queens Public Library, to the New Americans program, actually, where I've been for over 25 years. I joined the Queens Public Library, particularly because I would be able to use my language skills. And also I've always had an interest in immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants on both sides from, I guess then it was called the Russian Empire. Now the areas they came from would be part of Ukraine. So that's how I came to Queens.
You know, you have been a mentor to a number of librarians and library science students. How do you see mentoring contributing to the future of libraries, and particularly in immigrant communities?
Right. Well, again, being in Queens, I've witnessed a lot of immigrants who come and come to the library for a job, for example, as either a page or a clerk, and then work their way up. And it's been I've noticed it particularly with one current immigrant group is the Bangladeshi community. But prior to that, it's been definitely other communities as well. The library staff at Queens Public Library is extremely diverse, whether in all areas, librarians as well as paraprofessionals. But I've tried to one of the things to work in the New Americans program, we've always um, uh, tried to find people who have a second language. Obviously, we're working with the community we do. So, and actually in Queens, it doesn't particularly matter which one you have because anyone is useful. Though we, of course, we look for the top languages such as Spanish, Mandarin, Korean, Bengali, and Russian. Those are the top five. Um, but some people come and need, um, to improve their written English skills, for example, for business writing, and I've helped people with that. I've given them guidance, of workshops to take, courses that might help them. So it's rewarding to me, and it certainly helps the library as well. Getting involved in different library committees, things like that.
Now, you've talked about the New Americans program. I'd love to know more about its mission at the Queens Public Library, how it initially began, and about its primary focus.
Sure. So, like many programs, it began as a federally funded project. It was originally called the New Americans Project. It was a 3-year grant from 1977 to 80, way before my time here. Um, and the idea was, as Queens had been changing, as New York had been changing, the director at the time of the library system realized that providing traditional materials, was not really working. It was not the same population anymore. People needed more practical information. So, the project began with a focus on a few specific communities. Initially, it was the Spanish-speaking community, the Chinese-speaking, which at that time was mainly from Taiwan, and the Greek community, which was located and still is in some part, at least the businesses are in Astoria. But yeah, they were coming because of financial difficulties in Greece. They were coming to the U.S. So it started out with bringing, building up collections in different languages, more practical books, and films and things like that. Then cultural programs, of course, to attract people into the library, so that and especially when they see their culture represented, and then they could be informed about the different library programs that you find in an American public library, which may not have been true in their home country. And then we added what we call coping skills workshops, which are practical informational workshops on topics such as health or parenting, or education. Of course, we also started ESOL classes at the library, which has greatly grown over the years. So much so that we're all within still the same department, but they're in a different a learning division now, community learning division. Yeah, so that's it. And our focus now is the idea of acculturation, of becoming familiar with life in America, but while retaining the rich culture that you come from and sharing it with community at large. So, for example, over the years, initially, we would look for performers, artists, craftspeople in the community, and now we have many contacts over the years that have built up, and we do offer celebrating major festivals and holidays, and offering crafts, theater, all kind of poetry, arts, etc.
So, obviously, in the last few years, New York City has witnessed a number of immigrants coming to New York City, many people who are seeking asylum and moving into Queens. I'm really curious what types of resources and assistance the library offers to help them adjust to life in this area.
Right. So we had been offering, for example, computer classes in Spanish and Bengali. So we offered some more basic classes because we found that people were telling us that they we're looking for, how do I download a document that I need to send to whatever agency to apply for asylum or things like that. Um, Also, we added some additional practical life skills courses, just as an example. We have coming up, or actually, we just had it last week, a Haitian Creole workshop on my life next steps, and being taught by one of our ESOL teachers and covered things like ESOL, what is the GED, how to get certificates, how to get into college, things like that. So very practical, and that was given in Haitian Creole, of course.
Now
Um,
you offer New Americans corners at a number of branches. I'd love for you to talk a little about the impact that these corners have in connecting new immigrants to essential services.
Right. So the New Americans Corners actually is a project that was a collaboration between the city, the mayor's office of immigrant affairs, and the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So we're distributing materials. It's primarily focused on citizenship, but we also provide our brochures about the English classes, about the coping skills workshops, things like that, in the corners. Some of the things we also done for the migrants, because the shelter are shelters in different neighborhoods. So we've offered sometimes we're still doing it in Far Rockaway, some crafts programs for children who are living in the shelters. So that's been working out very well attended. That's another thing I wanted to mention. Um, yeah, so the corners are in all our locations, the branches and the adult learning centers as well.
And, I work with a number of nonprofits, and they always talk with me about the value of partnerships, and
Yeah.
international partnerships are part of your work. I'd love to know a little about how these partnerships have enhanced the library's ability to serve a diverse, multilingual population. And what do students from abroad gain from working with your team?
So the partnerships, we have many, many partnerships, of course, with the local CBOs for our programming, but the international partnerships tend to be for building the collections in another language, for example. Working with our oldest partnership, I think, that's ongoing is with the Shanghai Library. In fact, our director and our chief librarian, and our head of technical services were at the Shanghai Library Conference recently. But that's a special collection that's been developed at the Flushing Library called The Window on Shanghai. We've also have internship programs for librarians and library school students from different countries. The one we're working with most right now is with the French National Graduate Library School. We had an intern for a month uh, last during the last spring, I guess. Um, so it's really to gain an understanding of how U.S. libraries work, their differences, from other countries, and especially when they come at the graduate level, we try to integrate them into all of the various meetings at the library to learn about, how the library is structured and to visit the different departments and talk with people, so that. And I've actually been fortunate that as part of one of the partnership, I was actually able to go to France in 2023 and make presentations about our services to immigrants at the Pompidou Center Library.
So I want to come back to you because you recently received a very special honor. Can you talk a little about what receiving the I Love My Librarian Award means to you personally and professionally?
Yeah, that was a total surprise. There's 10 people each win each year around the country, and I was nominated by colleagues who didn't tell me about that they had nominated me. So it really brought attention to the library and our program and our services for immigrants, and it just gave me great pride because I've worked with the program now for over 25 years. And so it was a great, really, really a great honor. And having an article in the New York Times and being invited to podcasts, and also recently being a keynote speaker at a conference for the New Jersey Library Association. So it's certainly been both professionally and personally very rewarding. Yes.
So let's just talk just a bit about the future before we close. Would love to know, looking ahead, what some of your goals are or new initiatives that you're excited about for the New Americans program, but also even a little more broadly for the Queens Public Library system as a whole.
Right. Well, at the moment, the library is looking at, any institution has a strategic plan, and we're looking at the next 5 years. So one of the focuses, obviously, over the next 5 years is immigrant services, and we're looking particularly. Queens has the largest number of immigrant seniors in New York City. So we're looking to see how we can improve, enhance the services. We have worked sometimes with immigrant senior centers. We've done presentations in Spanish or in Chinese at different centers, but to see how really we can, maybe enhance some of the programming. Obviously, we need to hopefully be able to expand our ESOL. There's right now there's a special a program for We Speak and We Speak New York series of video and classes, but to look at how that can grow. Also, we're looking at increased language access. At Queens Public Library, We Speak Your Language is the slogan, tagline for us. So we're looking over at that, see how are we really, we've introduced interpretation service at all our libraries. The staff can call an 800 number to get an interpreter in a particular language. And of course, you mentioned the new migrants. So during the past year, we've seen languages being asked for that obviously were not asked for before, such as Wolof or Lingala or things like that. So that would have, having the access to that, but still looking at what can be done further. Maybe more documents need to be translated, etc. And then the other thing would be we're looking at how we can better have newcomers meet more people who've been here a while. So what kinds of activities or interactions could be created that would bring people together
That,
is another idea. That's for the library as a whole, really, too.
that's a new type of partnership.
Right, right, right.
So before I let you go, please let our listeners know, though, where they should go if they want to learn more about the New Americans program and the library system.
So the website for the library is queenslibrary.org. And if you go to the main page to find about New Americans program, you would just select programs and activities at the top, and then you select for New Americans, and it'll give you an overview of the program. And to find out about what's going on, you can check our calendar on the main page, queenslibrary.org.
Fred Gitner, I want to thank you so much for appearing here on the It's in Queens podcast. The New Americans program is just one of the ways the library provides information and resources that help our neighbors and our friends and our community so they can thrive. There are countless free programs and services, ones in the arts and cultural sectors, workforce development ones, and they support people of all ages. And since it is the giving season, remember, Giving Tuesday is next week, why not show your love for the Queens Public Library system? They have a $50,000 matching gift opportunity. So the more they raise now, the more that gets matched. You can visit qplf.org/match24. qplf.org/match24. Now, if you're looking for something else to do this month or through the holidays, well, we have you covered. Rob Mackay is with the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council. And each and every week, he highlights some of the more dynamic events that are happening in Queens. Here's this week's report.
Well, Jeff, it's that time of year again. And no, I'm not talking about eating turkey and trying to stay away from politics at the family Thanksgiving dinner table. I'm referring to the Nutcracker. The New York Theater Ballet offers this timeless Christmas classic at Kupferberg Center for the Arts at Queens College on December 1st, starting at 3. Considered appropriate for ages 3 and up, this rendition brings Tchaikovsky's music and Keith Michael's choreography to life in an Art Nouveau style, invoking 07. In other words, the outfits and scenery are absolutely fantastic. And I've been staring at some of these photos, and they're great. You've never seen anything like them. Okay, that's it for this week, Jeff, and I hope to see you in the audience as the mice dance with the imps and the desserts. Okay, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Rob, and happy Thanksgiving to you. That is just a sample of all that's happening in our borough. And remember, the place to go to discover everything that's happening in our borough, well, it's so easy to remember. It's at the It's in Queens website, and that website address is itsinqueens.com. And by the way, if you are interested in learning more about business, well, we have you covered there too. That's where the QEDC comes in, and their website is queensny.org. And by the way, when you visit the It's in Queens website or the Queens Economic Development Corporation's website, well, sign up for their newsletters. That way you'll get notified right in your inbox about opportunities. And by the way, when you visit one of the libraries in our borough, snap some photos. We would love to see them, because if you also use the hashtag It's in Queens when you post on Instagram or Twitter, also known as X, or these days on Blue Sky, well, who knows? Your photo could be our photo of the week. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and that's it for the It's in Queens podcast this week. Have a great Thanksgiving.